I think the trap that people fall into is um, they think they either need to have really high quality content to ship consistently.
I went to the identity conference and I lost my identity, and I learned how to get back and how to secure my identity.
If AI is able to produce better and better quality code, that just means there's going to be more code produced, and all of that code is going to have to be overseen, managed, deployed. I think we're a ways off from like that being completely and totally autonomous. I think the AI engineer job will be around for a while until we have like general intelligence that can completely replace us, because DevRel it's a lot of work. It's not, I mean, like it's a lot of different things that you're doing at the same time.
Hello everyone, welcome to the another episode of TACOS, where we'll be talking about community and open source, one of the smartest mind in the ecosystem. Today is a very special episode because it's with Sam Julien. He's one of my favorite developer, and when I was looking into his profile, right, and I got to know that he started his career 2007 as an office assistant. From there, he's now working as a director of developer relation at writer.com. I know him from Odd Zero program because we were both the ambassador, and then he were part of the Odd Zero team as well. When I learned a lot, but I think let's hear it from him as well because it's going to be epic conversation and everyone going to have fun. Again, welcome
Awesome.
Sam.
Yeah, thanks, Mehul. It's great to be here and great to see you again. Yeah.
How's everything? How's life?
Good. Really busy. Ryder keeps me really busy, and I have a almost 2-year-old child, and he keeps me very busy as well. So, but yeah, things are good.
So congratulations on child.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's
So
been a lot of fun.
yes, indeed, and you mostly never realize when your complete day passed because you have a lot of things to engage with your child, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So, wanted to ask because, to be very honest, your career profile is one of the most diverse profile that I've seen so far, where you have jumped into so many profiles and you work in different roles as well. So, and currently, if I can see, normally people when they want to shift their profile or jump to different role, they have little hesitations or they have a little fear as well. So, just wanted to know what is your thought process when you from the first job as an office assistant to now as a director of developer relations. I think that's journey so long, but how this overall journey so far?
Yeah, it's so funny. I forgot that I even was an office assistant. It's been so long. That was one of my first jobs out of college, which is now like coming up on 15 years ago. And so it's been a real journey. I got a degree in a liberal arts field, and ended up going into finance and doing some financial advising stuff and working in financial operations. But then I actually had always wanted to be a developer, but when I got to college and I started in computer science, but then it was the first year is a lot of just math and no, there was no. I mean, I don't know if it's different now, but in the 2000s, it was like the first year there was no actual programming, and I really didn't like it. And I wish I had stuck with it, but I didn't. I was like 19 or whatever and didn't know what I was doing, and so I switched. And so but while I was in finance, I learned about the ability to become like a self-taught developer. That really wasn't a thing when I was growing up, and um, so yeah, some people I was working with at a financial company told me about how like uh, they didn't have computer science degrees and they had just like learned through educational content and things like that, and so they helped me get access to some, things like Pluralsight, and there were things like Treehouse. I don't think Treehouse exists anymore, and Code Academy. I think that might exist. And so I started going through like JavaScript and C# courses and things like that. Um, and yeah, I was able to make the switch to being a developer about 10 years ago. Um, and that was great. And I did full stack development for 4 or 5 years or so, and then I joined Auth0 and did developer content and developer relations, and then went into management and became a director, and then joined Ryder earlier this year in April of this year. And so, yeah, it's been a long, like 15-year journey of figuring out my career and just kind of like following what's interesting to me and seeing where I can get an opening in things and get a foothold and then make a move. So yeah, it's been a crazy journey.
Actually, there are very few people actually, they actually do it, they do what they really like. And I'll be very honest, I am constantly following your newsletter. And if you remember it, in a some period of a time, there was no, I used to wait that when the newsletter should come, right? This developer micro skill. And one of, I think that is the one of the best thing on the internet at the time, because the way you used to write, as you said rightly, that you should follow what you want to do and what you like. When I used to read your newsletter and you talked a lot of about developer relationship, about mentorship, how to self motivate, how to coaching as well. And when I used to read that, it feel like it's a personal feeling, and it's can be it's more like okay, this happened to me as well. This is the same. This is not something I was reading in a very let's say a blog or a documentation or a book, right? Where it feel like it's a very general, and everyone can aligned in what you are actually trying to say, and it can actually connect people. So those who have not follow, please do check out the developer micro skill newsletter. Is one of the best thing. Uh, the only one I wanted to hear from you is that, right, creating this kind of content, it takes a lot of time, right? So how do you able to move, like manage yourself to create this kind of a content consistently? Because what I've seen is, when people create content, right, and let's say some after some period of time they stay not active, let's say not active, then they do not relevant to the people, as you know, right? If you want to be relevant to your industry, you have to be consistently produce your content so that people can stay in your network, stay connected, and so they don't lose you. So
Mhm.
wanted to, I've seen people who, let's say, one of my example, I myself, because I started creating content creator, and then I became, I was not active for a while, and that not become relevant for me, right? So because creating content is a very tedious task, and when you are in the role of, let's say, a developer relations, where part of your task as well to create a content for your company, maybe in terms of documentation, videos, blogs, podcasts, or so many other ways. So how do you find yourself to manage this? Because you are the best person to answer this. Why? Because in a short period of time as well, your newsletter, and you are also not active and not creating a content, right? Some period of a time after Auth0, and not even very active on social media as well. So how? Because you are the best person to answer this, because you can fill this gap.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. Yeah, because I yeah, it's I I definitely went through sort of a struggle with this for a couple of years because of getting into management and then becoming a dad and having, having to juggle all of that, and so it's interesting because in my current position I'm having to do a lot more content again, and so I'm having to dust off all of those old skills and habits and like get back into everything. And I think when it comes to consistency, the you kind of like from a you kind of have to optimize for just shipping consistently, and so that means you have to make other trade-offs. And so I think the trap that people fall into is um, they think they either need to have really high quality content to ship consistently, or they need to have something like unique and original that they need to ship consistently. And all like those are good things. Of course, it's great to have like high quality and like a unique perspective. But if you're trying to build the muscle of like shipping, like writing consistently and putting content out consistently, you kind of need to isolate for that skill. And so that means prioritizing shipping something every week, or whatever your like cadence is. Um, and like that's the immovable object, not the like, oh, I'm gonna ship a good idea every week, or I'm gonna ship something great every week. Like that comes with time and with practice, like because the more, like, I think people don't realize that the more you ship things, the better you get at it, the faster you get at it, and like the more refined you'll get. And so that's I think that's it's a really hard thing to do, but it's a very simple thing of like, if you're really serious about wanting to get more consistent with content and um, like producing things, then you need to make a commitment that you're going to ship something every week or every 2 weeks, whatever. I think every week is probably like, you need to put some pressure on yourself in order to like make it happen. And then you just do it. Like, it doesn't matter, even if you like, even if it's, you say you're going to do it every Friday, and Thursday you're still trying to figure something out. Like, find something old that you've done, or answer a question. Like, even if it's terrible, you can always improve it later. You can always go back and improve it later. But just the act of like putting something out there, and like allowing yourself to feel that pressure of like, I've got to put something out there. I'm not saying like you should do this forever, but like, if that's the muscle that you're trying to build, that's what you have to do. And that's what I've experienced. Like, when I was producing a lot for my newsletter, my goal was to produce, like, for basically a year straight, write a newsletter every week. And I stuck. I'm pretty sure I did it. I'm pretty sure I got all 52 issues in there. And the like the key was just like not slipping because I didn't feel like I had something to say. It was like, okay, we'll find something to say, even if it's like you'd be surprised how many things you have to say to people. There's like some lesson that you learned 5 years ago as a developer, or some like story from when you were growing up that you learned a lesson. Like, you just like come up with something, and put it out there, and then you can always, like, you're building up a body of work that then you can always like refine and do later, and you'll get more efficient at it, and all of that. But I think that's the biggest thing. And I've actually experienced it. I mean, I've just experienced it in this current job again, of like having to produce something every week. And like, the first couple of weeks were really difficult because I was so rusty and trying to figure out all the pieces, but just like committed to shipping. And it's getting a little bit easier every week to put things together. So yeah.
No, absolutely. And I've seen people start thinking about before they releasing or pushing any kind of content, like how other people will react, what kind of,
Yeah.
before even releasing it, like what kind of. And I've seen people wanted to do make it everything perfect. For example, let's say if anyone wants to start a video tutorial, something, right? They need a good camera, good laptop, good mic, everything is good, right? I think even I fall into this trap that I need everything correct, and then only I start producing it. But I started when I didn't have any mic or anything, and my first video quality, like audio quality, was so horrible, and people gave me feedback. I think that was the first step when people jumped into the content and they gave me the feedback. That was the first step that people wanted to hear, but it is not clear. Now I have to do more practice or put some more effort so they can hear it. The first thing I realized or found out as well that they are interested in our content.
Yeah.
First thing, but
Yeah.
without releasing, without saying it, and you rightly said that people fall into a trap that let's say if I mostly work in cloud native, right? If I don't have anything to say about cloud native this week, what do you want to say? I think you can share so many experience. Maybe any a meetup experience or a conference experience where something didn't work out, and how you manage that? Any interesting conversation that you had with any of the attendees or participants or organizer? There are a lot of things actually can speak and you can share. But again, when people, they're trying to think as what the audience will think of, and
Yeah.
there I think they waste their time a lot. As you know, when you start thinking, your day will pass and you will not even realize it.
Yeah. No, it's true. And the thing is like it's actually very hard to anticipate what people will think or what they will say. And so there's two sort of lessons that I learned when I was getting started with all of that. Like one was like probably not many people are going to see it anyway in the beginning, which is sort of like a hard thing to accept, but like it actually sort of takes the pressure off. Like it would be pretty shocking if you like put out your first piece of content and like it went viral and like millions of people were, like commenting on it. That would be crazy. Like that's probably not going to happen. Like you probably won't get that much feedback. And so you're really producing a lot of your first content for yourself so that you can like get the process going, and then like later, like you're building up this body of work that then like later, as you build more of an audience, you can send people back to that content that you created in the beginning. So that's sort of one part. And then the other part is that it's like very difficult to guess like what people will respond to and what they won't. Sometimes the things that you put a lot of work into and think is going to be like a big hit, like nothing comes of it, but then you offhandedly write something out of emotion and like it takes off, like, and so it's better to initiate that conversation with an audience and listen to what they're telling you and what feedback, even if they're saying nothing, that is in of itself feedback, and you just keep trying and keep putting things out there and listening to what people have to say.
Yes, absolutely. And one of because since you worked in developer relations, or there's a community manager, or this kind of profile a lot, I've seen when I used to have a conversation with any folks around, right? They have this perspective that the developer relations or this kind of because the company nowadays hiring these positions, right? And they think that these people should have they should have good social media reach, they should have a great following. And I'm sure you must come across this kind of scenarios where people people following the people who are, let's say, a great, let's say, some folks who are in developer relation, they're traveling a lot. As you know, part of our developer relation is you have to travel, you have to go into meetup conferences, creating content, and be active on social media as well. So people trying to follow people, and they are starting doing what they really don't like it, and ultimately that's where they stop working, or they don't realize that what exactly they want to do. So the question is for you is that, do you think in the developer relation, social media reach is really important? Because I've seen so many good developer who doesn't have a good social media reach, but the kind of content that they create and the kind of reach that they have in their developer network, it's amazing, right? So yes.
Yeah, I think it really depends on the person and their like where their strengths and weaknesses are, and um I do think like it can be important to have good social reach. I'm admittedly not great at social. I was good at it for a while, but then the algorithms have really hit me hard. But because I'm not good at like I don't enjoy kind of making clickbaity, like controversial takes that get a bunch of attention. That's just like not my style, But like some people are really good at that and they really enjoy it, and I think there's a place for that in DevRel. I also think that people, it's easy to overestimate the importance of social media in DevRel. Like people forget that like the vast majority of developers in the world are not on like on Twitter, like, or if they are, they're not using it for work. Like there's a huge number of developers that just go to their job and do their job, and maybe they listen to a technical podcast or they go to a conference once or twice a year, and like that's the extent of it. And so it's easy to think that like sort of like the tech Twitter bubble is like all of technology, and that's just not true. And so I would much rather, if I'm looking for a dev advocate, I'd much rather find someone who, like, I kind of see the social media thing as a bonus, unless I'm specifically looking for somebody who has like the ability to do that, but like, I'd much prefer someone who is able to like build local community and build relationships with developers and get product feedback, and who gets really good feedback on their talks at conferences and that kind of thing. Like, I don't weight the like social media presence too heavily. It's sort of like one factor, but not like a super important factor to me.
Okay. So also the reason I also ask, because this perspective not just by the people who are looking for the opportunity, but also the companies who are also hiring this kind of positions.
Yeah,
Because I had a I throughout my career I worked with some of the great companies, and mostly I work with the startups. But one of the company where I was working as a open source community manager, I had a horrible experience over there where with the part of my role when they pushed me so much to share the content on the social media from my profile, and I
yeah,
said this is not relevant because the kind of content that I push, my audience is really different, and
yeah,
the reason hired me for that is really different, right? Because
yeah.
here we want to talk about the product that you hire me for to build a community, right? And that is not the right platform. But maybe sometimes recruiters or the people who work with the team, they misunderstand the profiles as well and misunderstand the role as well, where they think the social media give them a boost, specifically the newly product or the new startup companies who that they are now very keen to build a community, and the hiring community managers or developer relation teams
Hmm.
are specific the product which are not, they are very in the start phase where they have, let's say, 1,000 users minimum, and then from them they wanted to grow. So do you also come across this kind of area where even the company, let's say, not able to revive the importance of the developer relations, and they are in the similar zone where they also looking for this social media, you can say, I don't want to use the other word. You can say social media world.
Yeah, no, it is true. Like, it is unfortunate that a lot of companies, especially startups, really equivocate, make equivalent like DevRel with like being a social media influencer. Like, it's unfortunate, and I think it's when companies are really looking for sort of like viral marketing, and like they really want to get like buzz around their product and that kind of thing. Like, I've seen that a lot actually, of like, oh, we basically want a developer influencer who's going to get a lot of like likes and follows and views and that kind of thing. And like, I think, I mean, it's that definitely within their like prerogative to want to hire somebody like that, but I really dislike that it sort of gets called a developer relations role when it's really like a just sort of like a more developer oriented marketing, like, not, I mean, DevRel can be in marketing, but it's, I think there's just so much more to developer relations as far as like listening to the users of the product, and like building a good experience for them, and all of that. Like, the social media is sort of like just sort of like the icing on the cake. It's not really like the important part, and so I think it gives DevRel a bad rap, and it also like, um, is really ineffective. Like, if that's what they want, then I don't think they should call it DevRel. I think they should call it something else. Just that they're looking for social media help, and they want to have a technical person do it, and that's totally fine. There's lots of people who are good at that and make a lot of money doing that, but I don't really think that's considered DevRel.
Yes, sadly, but they consider. I think they better they hire for this kind of position. They just wanted to put it like that. They are having a developer relationship. I think being a developer relationship, you ultimately part of the developers as well and the marketing team as well, where you do different kind of marketing. For example, let's say doing this podcast as well is another type of marketing as well, where you collaborating with the another person who are in the similar field, and we have the similar area. For example, we both are from the same industry, you can do some let's say some code lab with the another engineer, and you use your solution with their solutions and make some product, make some service or use case out of it. So this kind of
Hmm.
market works really in a zone. But as I think they should really call them as a social media influencer or hire some social media team for that. But
Yeah.
within this developer relation, I think community plays a very important role. I'm sure you agree. Uh, I think the best way to gain the experience is be part of the community, and again, be part of the community which lies in an interest area. It's not that just you can go to any community and where you see that bunch of folks are doing and there's some amazing perks. I really want to highlight that because I've seen most of the people join the community out of the perks that they're getting, not that actually they're interested or maybe wanted to contribute in the mission that they are following it.
Hmm.
I'm not sure how which you agree with this.
Yeah. Like, are you talking like about community programs and that kind of thing? Like,
Yes,
yeah,
yes, because in the program, not just out of that, let's say Audio Ambassador program, let's say, take an example. Audio Ambassador program is which for developer who are very also be part of in a security domain where they wanted to create solutions. And even they are not expert, this is a program where they also learn from the peers and get better version for their self, and that can help you in the professional career as well. But I've
hmm,
seen the people join the different programs not because they're interested in, but because of the perks that they're getting, and ultimately
right.
after a couple are not active and they ultimately lose it. So yes, what do you want
Hmm.
to say?
Yeah, yeah, and this is something that we like when I was running the ambassadors program. It was like a we kind of came full circle on because we started. I think we started as being very focused on people who were interested in security, and then we were really focused on just kind of growing the program and getting people interested in Auth Zero, and then we sort of went full circle and came back around to that. And then they ultimately they recently shut down the program
Yes.
after myself and the community manager were part of the big layoff. And so I think the problem is like fundamentally when you have a community program, I think you really want to be focused on like really clear on what the mission of the program is and what the benefit is for both the community and the company, and not just try to like make it big for the sake of making it big, because like you can make a really big community program pretty easily if you throw enough money at it and like open it up to enough people. Like you could have, that's what we used to tell some of the upper management, was like we could have 1,000 ambassadors tomorrow if we wanted to, and all we'd have to do is open it up to anybody and give them all free stuff. Like we could, like if you want us to have 1,000 ambassadors, like we can do it. But like, why? What's the end goal of that? And then you'll spend a bunch of time and money onboarding those people, and then they'll never contribute anything. And so I think it's much better to kind of go the slow and steady route of like building a community deliberately of people who want to be there and are like already building something with the product that you're working with, and have a vested interest in the success of the product and the program and that kind of thing, and then you reward them for that participation and things like that. And I think in the early days of the ambassadors program, we like really nailed that with being able to do travel support and things like that, where you could go and give a talk on identity and security and we would pay for your travel and that kind of thing. And once we were acquired, we weren't able to do that anymore. And so that was a big loss for that. But like, I think it was a good example of like, finding people who are really passionate about what you're doing, and being really focused on it. I mean, I think about that a lot right now, as I'm figuring out sort of the community strategy for Writer, because it's an enterprise AI company, and so it's a similar thing. Like, could I start a community program and start a Discord channel that's just around sort of like AI generally, and get like a bazillion people in there? Like, yeah, I could. But then I have to moderate that and I have to run the program. But like, our target audience is actually enterprise developers. And so I would much rather spend time slowly and deliberately and methodically like talking with enterprise developers who are actually using the product and like want to give me feedback on the product, and like build a growing like cluster of developers that way, rather than just kind of go the hype route, you know. But it's tough. It's a hard sell when you're talking to sort of like the non-technical business leader types, because they want to look at numbers, and they just want like, is we have a big fancy thing that's getting a lot of attention and all, you know. Like, I'm not saying that specifically at my situation, but just like in general, it's really hard to make that case, you know, of like just developers. And you sort of alluded to like developer marketing being really different, and it is really different because it's on a really different timetable and like a really different scale. Like, you really want to do sort of like quality over quantity for longer periods of time. You have to take the time to like build trust with developers and build relationships with them, and it's not as easy as just sort of like throwing up an ad somewhere or like doing a sales funnel. And, you know, like, I'm not saying those things are easy, but like, those things don't really work with developers traditionally. You know, it's more of a like, get to know them, help them use the product, give them lots of resources, walk them through things, do workshops, you know, like, and then over time build that relationship. So yeah, that was a long diatribe on all of that, but like, yeah.
To hear that. And before I want to say on that, All Zero Ambassador was one of my favorite program, to be very honest, because I learned a lot over there. And I think two or three times they posted, well, they mentioned on their Medium. They used to be Medium page very active, where they in a year they should roll out. And I was at that time I was the most active ambassador, where continuously engaging. And I'll be after that, once I sadly that Odd Zero Ambassador program is not. They said it's on pause mode, but I mostly I think it's not going to come back to life. If it is, I will be more than happy. But I think because of that, I got so many work. I got so many on the LinkedIn. So many people reached out to me about the Odd Zero solutions, where I helped them. Also, Odd Zero training as well, where they want their team to be trained for Odd Zero, and there I that helped me a lot. So community program also help or shape your career in a this way, where they
Yeah.
can also help you passive income. But for that, you have to be consistently and you patiently you have to work with them. Because I still remember when in Dave Days 2022, and I traveled. If you remember, I lost my passport, and you are the
Oh
first
yeah.
person where
Yeah, I remember.
you are the first person to whom I on the Slack I dropped a message that said, I lost my passport. And I exactly remember what you messaged, that don't worry, Mehul, don't panic. We'll be here. We'll take care of everything. And then I got a call from Christine, and she was there. And then a whole story everyone knows, right? The best thing I would tell everyone that I went to the identity conference and I lost my identity, and I learned how to get back and how to secure my identity. But that was one of the best program. I think we after the conference we sat it for a while and we chat about a lot of feedbacks and the things that could be done. But I think and not so many people who run the program are open to learn. And because one of the quality that everyone should have is you should be very good listener first,
Hmm.
to gather the feedback and then improve. And another thing, community plays a very important role to shape this kind of team, build a good team. Or maybe you'll get some good people also to on board, the way you are Auth Zero ambassador, then you led the developer relations team. So, and I think when you build the program, you have some goals, right? So with writer as a building community in future, because building community is not a big thing, because tomorrow you just post on your Twitter or LinkedIn, so many people join, but make them active or sustain for a while, that's one of the trickiest thing. And that's where most of the companies struggle. And because nowadays all the companies run their own community programs, right? So what is your goal with writer.com to as you said, it's a enterprise, and nowadays there are so many companies who have enterprise products, but they are keen to build a community around that, so they can help their customers as well and build some strong message around it with in the developer ecosystem. I mean, so what is your goal towards this?
Yeah, right now we're, you know, our developer platform is still pretty new, and so we're spending a lot of time on developer experience stuff, like, um, working on documentation and tutorials and um, adding new features and that kind of thing. And like I gave the first ever developer workshop a couple of weeks ago, and so we're spending a lot of time on that. And so my goal right now, from like a community standpoint, is really just to start talking with customers who like developers at customers who are using the product and get their feedback and hear what's working, what's not working, because then I can use that for ideas for docs or content or marketing messaging or things like that. But like knowing, um, you always have to start with the people actually using the product before you try to get more people using the product, And so that's sort of the goal right now, is to we're really just in sort of like a foundation laying mode. I mean, we have all of the product and the technology and all that stuff, but as far as like developer community, we're still really in a foundation laying mode, because we've been around for several years, but it was all in sort of the enterprise managed sales kind of area, and so all of the developer stuff is just new in the last few months, and so not many developer communities even know who we are or what we do, and so it's doing all of that from scratch at the moment, and just like building those relationships and building trust and that kind of thing.
Okay. So, since the reason I also want to mention this is because from last almost a year, everyone's talk about AI a lot, and in the previous year, people used to talk about Web3 a lot.
Hmm.
And since so many community has been grown, I wanted to hear from you what do you think that before 5 years, let's say around 2016, 17, and now, if you compare the difference between the community culture that used to have, right? Because I myself seen a tremendous difference in terms of community culture, the kind of engagement and their motivations to build the community, right? When a Web3 comes, every product and service has the community, and now similarly, what I've seen in the EI as well, so many product has been building, right? And they have all product and service, they have their own committee to engage their product or a service. So since you come long way to this community journey, what do you feel the biggest difference in terms of the community now and what community used to be?
And do you mean like the difference being like in terms of with the AI stuff, or just sort of in general, like the general technical community?
Yeah, in general, and then you can add the perspective of Web3 and AI both, but
Yeah.
how the because culture will be same, right? Where we what the motivations to build the community, so that we can talk about our product and service, we can spread an awareness. That's the ultimate goal. But
Yeah.
how the culture is building, the way you guys build it, or zero culture, right, in the community. So those cultures that I'm actually defining, those are actually missing somehow from where I see from the Web3 is a very booming at that time, and now AI as well. So what do you think
Yeah.
the difference then and now, and what do you think the that people should focus when they are trying to build the community around?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of factors that have gone into it. I think, when we were building Auth0 DevRel stuff in 20, 17 to 2020, like that kind of area. Um, One, there was like a significant like economic advantage there. Like tech was in a really big boom right there. And so we were getting lots of funding, and like DevRel was in a real like um, heyday where it was getting lots of funding and lots of resources, and was like very elevated as an important thing. And so we were able to spend a lot of time and money on building community and hiring people and building out a big team and that kind of thing. And so like the economics has definitely changed. In the last couple of years, there's been a real shift in tech, and a lot of layoffs and just like less freely available money due to interest rates and that kind of thing. So like that's one big factor that I think has affected things, is like you just don't have as many people who are like trying to build community. So I think that's part of it. I also think COVID really like shifted a lot of things, like going like it really I think we're starting to get back to where we were as far as like in-person events. And I've seen a lot of really good in-person events happening in the last year or two. But I think it feels like there were some things that sort of stopped because of COVID and never got picked back up. And so I don't think we ever got back, like if we had like, we had a huge amount of like global, like local meetups and conferences and that kind of thing. And I think COVID like almost cut that number in half. And like there's still like I think everything died temporarily. And then I think what has come back is only about, maybe half. I mean, I don't have any like data on that, but it certainly feels, I mean, just from my vantage point of like just locally, like in the Portland tech scene in the 2010s, there were just like huge meetups every week all over the place, and now it's pretty rare to have like a tech meetup that's very populated, so I think that's a big part of it too. There's less in-person stuff going on, like there's just less community going there. And then I think when it comes to some of the newer technologies, I think that the Web3, like the crypto stuff, it really burned a lot of people. Like there's still now an ongoing Web3 community that I think is a lot more sane and like normal. And they're building cool things, and there's a lot of cool people in that community. But there was that sort of bubble of I don't know, 2021, 2022, somewhere in there, where there was a lot of fraud and like shady things happening, and so a lot of hype, and so people were very skeptical about it. And then all of their skepticism was like proven true with a lot of big scandals and that kind of thing. And so I think that's also sort of that feeling is I think permeating in some of the AI stuff as well, because they're feeling like they got burned by Web3 and crypto and all of that stuff, even though they're like the underlying technology of Web3 is all still very real and cool. It's sort of like left a bad taste in people's mouths. And so it's interesting, because in AI you have a really strange spectrum, because AI is very like rooted in research. It comes from deep learning and machine learning, which is decades old, and you have like lots and lots of PhDs working on these problems. And so there's a lot of really interesting science and math that goes into AI. But then you also have sort of the other spectrum of like the hype, just the bros, like hyping everything up and hacking the algorithms to make things look really cool and all of that. And so I can see why there's like, you have a lot of skepticism still, or, people who are sort of fatigued by all the AI hype and all of that. And so, but what feels different to me about AI is just how, like, one, how deeply rooted in many decades of research it is. And so it's like, it feels like, ChatGPT came out, November of 2022 or 23 or something like that, right? And so for a lot of people, like, that's the time that AI entered their consciousness, but there was work happening for decades before that. And so it's just, this is just sort of recent hype, but it's because it's hit this breakthrough in technology with transformer architecture and stuff. And so that feels really different to me. I think there's like, this is just like one part of a very long story that is just continuing to develop. And then also, I just think there's a lot of really practical use cases for AI. And that's one of the things that really attracted me to Ryder, because it's like an enterprise focus. Like, we're like working with big customers every day, helping them with like saving time and solving problems by, making it easier for them to write copy or generate product descriptions, or, things that are like very practical, tangible solutions that are very not hype. And a lot of them aren't even like very like cool. Like you wouldn't like tell your neighbor about them, but like they're like actually saving time and money and helping businesses out and that kind of thing. And so, yeah, like that's sort of my take on the whole survey of things. But I definitely think that, like, I'm hopeful. To me, it feels like AI is also injecting more energy into community stuff right now. Like, and I'm hopeful we can ride that wave. It seems like right now, like, that's mostly centralized in San Francisco, and I would really like that to spread outside of San Francisco. But like the sheer number of like in-person meetups happening in San Francisco for AI every single week is mind-boggling. I mean, hundreds of people every single night, every single week, showing up at tech companies hacking on AI things and all of that. Like it's really pretty incredible, but like it needs to happen outside of San Francisco, like there's and so I'm hopeful that maybe that this AI wave will start to bring some of that, like that really cool tech community back. We just have to do it in more places throughout the world.
Yeah, of course. I think even in India as well, so many companies started this AI meetups around their product because they want to build the people who are AI centric, but not just the developers. There are also business developers. There are, let's say, a sales executive, pre-sales people jointly together how they can brainstorm it. But
Yeah.
moreover, what I've seen the people, specifically developers, they are very worried because so many companies, as you see, so many companies are already laying off. And when you have AI, I recently come across one tool called Reflect.ai, where it is a tool where it can help you to write the complete code. You just have to tell them what to do, and they also guide you as well how to write a code and complete solutions as well. And it can easily integrate any of our ID as well. So I do you think this will also where people also started worried as well whether because recently Nvidia CEO also said that you don't need to learn code, right? So that also create because at that time it was really booming. What do you think AI will create more jobs or specifically around let's say if you wanted to say a role let's say in a developer relationship, right? Earlier we have so many people a big team, right? What do you think in terms of career perspective? Do you think it's going to be a change just for now since it's a new or it's adopting? So it's changing real fast. But what do you think in as a future perspective? Since you already know, right? You work with the different teams and you have that diverse background, so you can predict that because when people are new, they started to have small fear as well and they started hesitating as well to openly say about what they are really trying to do and they're just trying to follow what currently work in the market and get them job.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually think I think we're a long way from AI like completely replacing developers. I think what's more likely to happen over the next, well, I guess can't even put a time frame on it because things move so quickly. But I think the phase that we're entering is more of developers almost being more like architects, like are supervising AI and overseeing AI of like even if you have like AI is pretty good at code generation at this point, with the right tools and the right prompts and that kind of thing. But like it doesn't have all of the context and reasoning ability that a human does. And like we might get to that point at some point, but like I think it's going to be. I think we're going to see sort of like a leveling up of like all developers, so that like you're using AI to do all of the boilerplate and like build out features or and those capabilities are getting like more impressive all the time. But like I still think developers are going to be overseeing a lot of that and like orchestrating those moving pieces and like managing that. But I think we'll start to see something where like you know one developer is able to oversee several AI agents and tools and that kind of thing and like produce a lot more than what we're used to seeing. Like I think if anything, we're going to see like an explosion of more code and more going on. Like, and so I don't think we're going to be. I think that there will be a shift in like the kind of developers and like the level of developer, as far as like, yeah, I think it's tough to be sort of a very junior developer right now because AI can do a lot of junior developer stuff. But I think that should motivate you to continue to get better and like learn more and grow more so you can become more senior so that like you can like focus on more of the orchestration side. There's a really great so there's a person named Danny Grant who she runs a company called Jam.dev, and it's a AI powered developer tool, and she's been going around giving a really great talk on this, and I will have to see if if it's been recorded somewhere. Hopefully it's been recorded somewhere so that we can link it. But I think she puts it really eloquently, where she talks about like sort of how developers will evolve with AI over the years. And that's essentially what she says is like, that it stands to reason that like if AI is able to produce better and better quality code, that just means there's going to be more code produced. And all of that code is going to have to be overseen, managed, deployed. Like I think we're a ways off from like that being completely and totally autonomous. Like not having any human in the loop at all. So that's my thought right now. I could be totally wrong. Maybe in a few years we're all completely out of jobs, and
Yes.
but I think
Maybe
the AI engineer job will be around for a while until we have like general intelligence that can completely replace us.
100%, 100%. I think it's more also the people who are more curious or about learn about the use cases, because that will help them to build the product. Because AI
Hmm.
can generate, but how to transform that into a structured way, and also how to push it into the production where, and also a business logic where I think a human intervention needs, where they have to put the business logic, right, where I think they can be fit, where they have to be have a technical background and also have some sense of, let's say, a use case of any product or a service, or let's say a little bit of that's the reason I recently seen pre-sales engineers and the solution engineering, this kind of profile are really hot in the market now. Yep. Right, this is a mixture of the people who are technical and also are good with customers to sell the solution. It's not about just the sell, but also explain them about what is the better solution for their product and service. Right. I'm going to take the last question because we are hitting the time. So, if anyone wants to, let's say, dive into career, and specifically, I've seen a lot of people wanted to be in this profiles, especially about the developer relations, community managers, or more of the advocacy roles. So, what is the quick advice that you can give it to them, which is very realistic and also it can hit them hard as well?
Yeah, I think if you're interested in developer relations, like um, you don't need to necessarily switch careers in order to do that. Like I always tell people the first thing you should do is like if you're interested in doing developer relations, just start doing developer relations. Like start creating content and like answering questions. You can basically like pick a product or a tool that you use all the time that you genuinely love, and kind of start doing DevRel like as a side hustle, like just to see whether you like it and to see whether you want to keep doing it. Like there's really nothing stopping you from doing that. Like you could create content, you could get on their forums and answer questions, you can give conference talks. Like there's really nothing stopping you from doing that other than time. Of course, that if you don't have the time, like I can't do that on the side right now with a kid and everything. But like if that's what you're interested in doing, like I would definitely encourage people to do that on their own. There's also ways you can do that for your own. Like if you do have a day job as a developer, if you're working for a software company of any kind, you can probably do some of that on the clock. You can probably negotiate that with your manager for like 10% of your time or something. Um, so I would highly recommend that, because I think I've seen a lot of people uh, who really want to do DevRel and really enjoy doing it, but then when they actually start doing it full time, they don't like it as much because all of a sudden now you have to start proving, like you start to have to track everything and do metrics, and you're doing it full time. There's no, like you're getting told what to do. You can't just like pick whatever thing that you want, like. And so I would definitely start doing it, see what you like, and then see if you really think you would want to do it full time. And there's lots of resources out there on sort of like what that's like, and if once you've done some of that, because you're going to need to have a portfolio of things to share anyway if you're interviewing for DevRel roles, then I would start to look for like full-time DevRel jobs and see what you think. But yeah, that's my advice.
I think you rightly said one line that you can do devrel at any point of time. You don't necessary to be in that role, because I think when we are part of the community, ultimately we were doing devrel only, right? We were attending
Hmm.
meetups, speaking at the meetups, being part of community. We are answering the questions. So ultimately you do that. The only thing I think people most of the time miss to showcase that in their interviews, because they're
Hmm.
looking for I need an experience of, let's say, 3 years, 4 years, but they can miss to say that okay, I was be part of this community where I was actually doing this activity. The only thing that I was not getting paid for that, I was doing out of passion. But
Hmm.
now I really like what I was doing. I wanted to convert that into full time, and I think this really make more sense now, because when I was doing it free, I was trying to figure out time. If I'm going to do it full time, I think I'm going to be more aligned, and I'm not just going to give my 100%. I'm going to give my 1,000%.
Right, right. Yeah. And that's the way that you want to feel, because DevRel is, it's a lot of work. It's not, I mean, like it's a lot of different things that you're doing at the same time. And not that other jobs aren't hard. I mean, there's lots of pros and cons, but like in DevRel, you're being pulled in a bunch of different directions at the same time, and you're like uh really like straddling product and marketing and all that. And so like you definitely want to, it's not something you're going to want to like sort of like be lukewarm about. Like you can be lukewarm about doing it on the side, but if you start doing it full time, like you got to be sort of all in on it.
Yes, because there's so many, as you said, if you have to show the metrics, you have to be also very particular of what you are exactly showing, what you speaking as well. Is it aligned to your goals or not? Is it aligned to your product or not? Because I've seen there are some restrictions as well, not in the every companies, but yeah, some corporate companies they have some restrictions as well, and what to share and what to not share, right?
Yeah.
So these kind of KPIs, when you're in community, you have some free hand, because ultimately you're not working, so you have some areas or boundary where you have that freedom. But when you come into this side of the table, where you have to work with a lot of teams, you have to be a communicator as well, that what you are trying to say, your message should be equally make sense for everyone in the team, or say in the company, what they're trying to say. But I think I really had a great time, Sam. I'm sure you had fun. I hope you had
Yeah.
fun, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I love talking to you. It's always fun to get to catch up with you. And yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Anytime. And I actually this is actually a very this podcast is very inspiration for me, because as I said, right, I love your newsletter, and I'm hoping to see every week in my email. And I recommend everyone to you can check the past newsletter as well. It has a great information which can really make sense to you. And this is the inspiration me, because I it's been a 6 to 8 months, I was not active, and I really wanted to start. And I got some point that I wanted to start my again a content creation journey with you. uh, Last week I was got sick, and 2 days back only I got free with the conference. 2 days back we wrapped up the Google Cloud conference, where we were only two people who organized this conference on a and there were 600 participations, and that was a very good experience, and that I'm going to narrate in my next 1 month. We have created so many content that we're going to roll out about how these things actually work on the back end. So I'm now what I'm doing is whatever I'm learning, I'm trying to convey in the way that people can understand and also make sense them, and it should feel relatable. That's the ultimate goal. The way I read your newsletter and it feels relatable, I wanted to make the content in that way. So thanks again for creating those content, and please keep doing that, because that really help the people like us who are really wanted to make some difference over here. And I always enjoy talking to you, Sam, and I'm really hope to see you soon in person.
Yes, yes. Yeah, thanks so much, Mehul. Yeah, I appreciate the kind words. It's very motivational for me. Great.